this is a reaction movie to the title I Speak 7 Languages to My Dogs.
Hey, noble ones? Oh, yeah. Hey, noble ones without the mic. Hey, noble ones. Welcome to Metatron's Academy. So today, a little bit of an informal video. And yes, you might be thinking, due to my title, has he gone mad? No, but
Maybe he's gone mad.
seriously, I am actually not joking. While the title might be a little strange, I'll give you that, the reality is that the topic of this video is how to be inventive when you practice your languages so you don't get bored and you make sure that your daily practice routine is continuously sustained. Now, as you
Yeah, he already got me hooked by saying that, because I am a huge fan of being creative when learning languages and thinking outside the box. So I will give him the thumbs up, of course. And by the way, this reaction movie in a way is also like improving my language skills. And also very important is to not give a damn. No, to not care too much, in the sense that, yeah, I'm gonna make a lot of mistakes, but it's okay. The most important is to get my message across and to have fun.
noticed, I talked about dogs. Well, I so happen to have two dogs, one of which is a lap dog. A lap dog. What is a lap dog, you ask? A lap dog is a dog that is constantly and permanently on your lap.
Kawaii!
It's a lap dog, if I've ever seen one. So,
It's
due
very
to the
cute.
fact that the dog is here when I edit, when I film, right? Can you stop with the tail? When I edit, when I film, when I play video games, the dog, she is constantly here. So, or with my wife, depends. Due to the fact that she's always around, and so is the other one, the Pomeranian, then why not take it as a great opportunity to practice whatever target language that I'm working on. So what I do is,
Yeah, that is really amazing.
first, the obvious one. I tend to speak to them in either Mandarin, Japanese, or whatever language I'm practicing. Currently, these are the two that I enjoy. Well, Japanese is mostly a maintenance, whereas since I'm already fluent, but when it comes to Mandarin, it's I'm still working on it, right? I'm conversational, but not fluent. So I enjoy speaking to them in the language, because, I mean, think about it. You can really practice a lot of things. Now, given you have to make sure that they are correct, because, I mean, as far as I know, dogs
Yeah, they don't judge you.
don't correct you. Not necessarily because they can't speak. That still has to be proven. But simply because they're just too nice. They wouldn't do it because they're too nice. Whatever. Her name is Kiva. Kiva.
Yeah, and actually that is also something which is very important when you have like a lesson or wherever or whenever you learn. It has also to do with, you need to feel comfortable, and that's when you learn the most. And obviously in the company of his dogs, he will feel comfortable. And yeah, as he said, his dog is always with him. So actually what he's doing is he tries to implement his language learnings into his day-to-day life, the entire day-to-day life.
是你的名字. So first and foremost, I tend to speak to them in whatever target language I'm trying to practice, because, I mean, they don't complain. I do occasionally do that with my family, but they do complain. Instead, they don't complain. So it's fantastic. But really, think about it. If you've ever struggled to remember the word for lunch, breakfast, dinner, well, now you won't, because you can keep telling them, it's breakfast time, it's lunch time, but you create a memory. I know this sounds like I'm joking to you, but I'm not. It creates...
Yeah, it creates a memory. I see that. And in my case, let's say if I, from now on, I told my dog when it's breakfast time. So in Japanese, like asagohan chikan desu or something like that. I'm not quite sure. I'm sure that if I do that every day, of course, I put it into practice, and of course I will check for the right way to say it first. And yeah, I absolutely see what he is explaining.
It's a memory, and it's 15, 20 times more effective than just taking a list and reading it out loud. You'll never remember that. You'll never remember that. Making notes and writing down lists can be good as a way to organize your workload when you are, memorizing vocabulary, trying to expand.
Well, you can learn with lists, but it gets more difficult.
And learning, actually acquiring new vocabulary, but if you don't use it, you'll never actually learn it. So saying it out loud is an important aspect of language learning, but at the same time, you need to say it in a way that creates a memory, because that way it gets stored in your mind. And to do that is excellent, because I can tell my dog, 今何している? もうやめて.
今何している? I think he just said in Japanese, what are you doing right now? Or something like that.
で、食べる? 食べたいの?
食べたいの? 食べたいの means something like, do you want to eat?
Yeah, for instance, right? I can ask the dog if she's hungry. That's a fantastic one, because that's actual applicable. I know this sounds very basic, and sure, I mean, it's good for beginners and very, very low intermediate. But then again, even when it comes to these names that we use, beginner, B1, A2, A1, right. But I've seen people that can literally pass a international test, whether it be through the European frame of reference, so whatever, let's say a B1, even B2 sometimes, they can pass the exam, but when they actually have to speak with a native speaker, they're not that good. But they did pass the exam. Well, that is because tests, they're fine to have an overall idea, but you can have a B2, 3 people, they all have the same level, but their ability to actually have a conversation, how comprehensible their pronunciation is, and how well they can understand someone speaking back to them, how fluent they are, how natural they are as they initiate any communicative event, well, that will vary tremendously, even if on paper they have the same level. And one of the...
Yeah, of course, that has to do with putting it into practice, right? And also some people have the ability to learn what is really essential to communicate with people. And in my opinion, it has also to do with being able to understand or to read the situation. So this has also to do a lot with personal skills, social skills, and the like. And if you are shy, reserved, or if you are rather extroverted,
problems, one of the aspects that most students are lacking of is precisely experience. That's why people who move to another country and live there for some times are always more fluent and sound a lot better than, and therefore more confident than the students who just practice at home, with a few exceptions. I myself...
Well, okay, I can't say much about that because I have not lived abroad, so... But I always thought that it has nothing to do where you are, because I also heard stories about people who were in the, how do you call it? The expat bubble.
Of almost all the languages I've picked up, I have picked them up either in the actual country, because I moved there, or by simulating it. And by simulating, I mean, even when I was practicing Mandarin, even though I didn't move to China, I had Chinese people live in the same flat as me when I was a student. Basically, I was hunting for Chinese students, telling them, hey, yo, come to my place, I'll give you... I was doing this, I'm saying it was a great strategy, but as a university student, I was already doing well. We had several rooms in the apartment, right? And we wanted students to come in so that our collective rent would lower, right? So what I did is that I found this Japanese student who was trying to learn Italian and learning how to make pizza. And then this Chinese student/worker. So he was there to study Italian, but also to work, right? Because he wanted to get a different kind of job. I mean, he wanted to work in a hotel, but whatever. So they were looking for a place to stay, but they had limited budgets. So I told them, look, normally we rent these rooms for 300, for you 200, and they would immediately move in because I'm giving them a big discount, and due to the fact that it wasn't my apartment, it was shared with the other students, I would tell them at the end of the month I will add the extra 100 that I am taking from them, so it would be a little bit of an expense for me, but boy, I got to practice Mandarin and Japanese every day.
That is an excellent method.
Huh? 你很漂亮.
Yeah, that is really cool, but I think these days you have, no offense, but I take it that this was a couple of years ago, and I saw that in the recent few years that there are way more resources out there on YouTube in which you can even consume very natural phrases from native speakers. Just as a side note here.
漂亮，你是我的女儿，对不对？你是中国人吗？你开玩笑啊。So of course, being able to speak with actual natives is always the best thing, but sometimes people are not that lucky and they don't know anyone that they could actually practice with. So, believe it or not, when I'm short of a sentence, when I'm short of a piece of vocabulary, and it's just a matter of, I keep forgetting it, right? We've all gone through that. Like, oh my gosh, I've reviewed this so many times, but when I actually need it, I never remember. Telling your pets is fantastic. It's
Yeah, I believe that.
fantastic if you have a pet. If you don't, get a pet. So the other thing that I do, because again, you got to be creative in this space, my friend. That's the way you counterbalance getting bored.
Yeah.
Because if you get bored, you'll never get fluent. I can tell you that much. And one thing that I do sometimes is that I change their names on a weekly basis. So there was a time when I was trying to learn the word for TV in Mandarin, and therefore the other dog, his name was 电视 TV for a week. So the whole
Okay.
week I would go to him and be like 电视情境 电视你在哪儿 I will never
Yeah, but will the dog react to your new name? I mean, my dogs, they react to their name. If I change it every week, they will not react to when I'm calling them. You know what I mean?
never forget it 电视 never forget 电脑 was another week computer. And the wonderful thing about it, this sounds so stupid. You're probably thinking, man, Metatron is so cringy. Okay, but I remember the vocabulary and you don't. So at the end of the day, all of this to say, I know that this sounds a little silly that I'm yeah, but they don't mind. I can tell you that much. They love it. Every time I say something and the tail goes like wiggles. But being inventive, being creative and spicing it up, mixing things around is
absolutely.
a phenomenally important thing. And I'm adamant about this.
Yeah, for example, how I mix it up, well, it's not very output based, but I liked to change the subtitles. Just to give you an example, the auto-generated subtitles, I can switch it to Italian, for example, or Japanese. And why I am doing that is to get exposed to the words that come up very often, you know. And when I'm doing that, I'm not focusing on Italian learning, but because I have a glimpse at it from time to time, automatically I can soak it up. And yeah, the words that come up all the time, I just can remember them better, right? Just as a side note here. Let's continue.
Is a fantastic way to ensure that you will stick to it. And whatever works for you. Whatever works for you. It can be anything, really. You could really tell me, no, you know what, I don't have pets, but I'm gonna speak to my TV. Speak to the TV.
Yeah, for example, you could, when you turn it on, you could do like, first you need to say the phrase out loud. Now I'm turning on the TV. And if you cannot say that, you're not allowed to turn it on. I'm just thinking loud here.
Who cares? You really need to learn to stop caring. Because I know for a fact that when I was a student, probably some of the other roommates thought I was either possessed or I was trying to summon a demon a few times, because they would just hear me speak on my own out loud in my room. Do I care? No.
I think this is also crucial when learning a language. And this goes especially to the more introverted ones or the reserved ones. I saw myself as a very introverted person, very reserved, and I was very shy. I was not able to speak out, even in my mother tongue. I was just silent, not talking at all. And you know what? Then even in your mother tongue, you are not able to have a very talkative conversation because you never do it. So yeah, it's also like a mindset thing. It's about, yeah, just do what you want. I'll give you another example. My channel, in which I talk about my Japanese learning journey, I have 0 subscribers. It's okay. There is an advantage. They won't complain. For example, if I'm uploading this reaction video, there's nobody there. Who will complain? I can do whatever I want. And for me, this is like a hobby. It's really great to make it. So, yeah.
Speak 7 languages. I don't care. Who cares? Plus, you know, it was kind of funny anyways. They just thought I was a little out there. But at the end of the day, so what? Whenever it came to it, whenever there was someone and they needed, they're like, hey, get Raf. Me. He's the guy who speaks the languages. So, hey, there's this Japanese guy. Get Raf. So I speak to the guy. Konnichiwa. Nihongo dekimasu. Hi. I will speak to the guy. Then they need...
Nihongo dekimasu. Yeah, means, I think, to be able to speak Japanese.
There is a Chinese guy, because of course I did my university in Naples, and there is a whole section of Naples, a lot of Chinese businesses, and so yeah, whenever we would go to a Chinese place, it's a fun way, and so I was like, yeah, I'll speak to them 100%. 你好，我会讲一些普通话, that kind of stuff. And even when we had a new roommate at one point from Belgium, very international house, and immediately when he came in, he spoke very good Italian. I'd like to underline his Italian was excellent. He spoke very well. But I just switched to French, and my classmates didn't even know that my roommates didn't even know I spoke French. It was hilarious.
How cool is that?
At that point. Okay, you want down? Okay, it's fine. It's fine. It's okay, baby. There you go. Off you go. Be a little crazy. Be a little silly.
Absolutely.
All that matters is that you find and figure out ways to remember the new vocabulary. And trust me, speaking to your dogs, and I imagine cats, didn't test it though, speaking to your dogs in whatever target language works. Just keeping in mind that I wouldn't try vocabulary you're not sure about. So like if you're trying to build sentences in your head, yeah, they're not going to correct you. But if it's sentence, I wouldn't do it for that.
Yeah, you could talk to ChatGPT, for example, and it will correct you if you say, if you want it, of course. What I do, for example, I play games and then I try to say what I'm currently doing in Japanese, and then I look it up later, or I ask ChatGPT for translations. When I am in the audio mode, when I am like in the conversation with ChatGPT, while I am in game, you know, and so ChatGPT is listening in the background, and I mute it, and when I say something, I unmute it, and then I get my corrections or my translations.
But sentences you know for a fact work, and vocabulary like 手机 your phone, ketai in Japanese, but whatever this, you just tell your dog to call your dog 手机 for a while, reminding yourself that means phone though, because otherwise you just think it's your dog. So you have to make it make sense in your head. In my head, I would just imagine that my dog is a computer screen or a TV. That's just me. But whatever. It works because I called my dogs 手机 for a while, and then I remember we were in New York with my wife. And at one point, we went into this Chinese tea place, and I ordered in Chinese, 这个多少钱? So how much is this? And very, very basic stuff. And but then, of course, that was the sentence I had prepared, right? Because I know I'm going to buy the tea. So 我要喝茶，这个多少钱? And all that kind of stuff. I already had it prepared. And the prepared stuff is good to practice, but sometimes we need to improvise. That's when you see whether or not the vocabulary is actually at your disposal. Right? Mnemonically.
Yeah.
And so what happened is that there was this group. So I ordered in Chinese. There was this group of kids from China. They were like, oh, wow, very good Chinese. They were saying that. I appreciated that, of course. But then as they left, one of the kids forgot his phone. So I saw the phone on the table. I picked it up. I went out and I said, 请问你忘了你的手机? And the reason why I could, and this is again very basic, but what is not basic is the ability to, on the fly, say it quickly and when you actually need it. And
yeah, it's because he put it into practice several times, so it got second nature, so to speak.
And so this is a massive difference between I know this vocabulary versus I have acquired this vocabulary. Because when something is fully acquired and it is now part of your linguistic arsenal, that's when you really know a language. That's when you should really say, I know this word. Because too many times I've seen students in my experience, even as a teacher, they were like, oh yeah, I studied this word, fine. But then when I say it, you don't recognize, you don't know what I said. Or even worse, it does happen, when you need it. You're like, oh, how do you say it? Oh, they are too slow, right? Why was I quick? Because I say this stuff constantly. Either by speaking to myself,
or to his dog,
or to my dog. Anyways, I hope that this helped. Keep studying.
We will. No, this was really excellent. For me, yeah, I'm not very good at saying what in my brain is going on, and this is one of my first reaction videos. I hope you had fun, and see you the next time.